Jeep or something like that from a dealer that's affected, right? I got a whole list of things I made here. I want you to think about this and how it's going to affect you so you can be mentally prepared for what could come. I've already had once I posted these videos that I'm doing today here. I've already had lots of comments on we're already affected, and so I'm going to give you some examples. I want you to think about the first and foremost, the thing that's going to affect you. You want to go buy a Jeep and trade in your Jeep, something like that. It's going to be a really difficult process, if not possible at all at this time. I have heard reports where dealers are not able to sell cars, and it's not even the fact that they don't have the stock. They can't do the paperwork. They can't get the financing for you because financial institutions are tied into CDK software. That's kind of like from the buyer's perspective. That's called this is called a supply chain attack is what it's called. And I've had this business SpliceNet for 20, 30 years now, and we do cybersecurity and technology for all kinds of businesses. So I thought it was important to mention this to the Jeep community. But I want you to think about that's the downstream, right? Buyers are a downstream effect of a cyber attack like that. So at the top end, you got CDK Global, you got the dealers, and then you got the buyer. That's a downstream attack. But I want you to think about the upstream also. It's kind of an ugly branched upstream. And so if CDK does not get their stuff in order, dealers can't sell vehicles. If they can't sell vehicles, then manufacturers can't deliver vehicles because they can't order vehicles, or they can't force them on dealers, like sometimes I guess happens, and say, hey, sell this allotment of cars, right, and so on. I'm not an auto dealer association. I don't understand how the entire network works, but I can tell you that's going to slow down manufacturing potentially. Could slow down manufacturing of Jeeps, and so there's a lot of stock on some of those out there right now. So think about that. But I want you to think about this too. A lot of organizations buy OEM parts. And so OEM part manufacturers deal through CDK Global in a lot of situations. A lot of garages deal with CDK Global, especially the ones at the auto dealers, right? Stores that resell OEM stuff, right, or parts can be hindered by CDK Global. If you get into an accident, you might think to yourself, I never thought about this, right? If you get into an accident, the fact that they can't get a fender, an OEM fender for, a 2023 Wrangler Rubicon, right? Like mine, right? That's a problem. I heard today from Michael on one of my posts on Facebook on Jeep with Jim about how he runs a collision shop and they can't get parts, right? Heck, parts for bodies, okay, that's one thing. But if you rolled it, if you're stuck, you're down, yeah, we can go aftermarket. But then again, a lot of aftermarket manufacturers might use CDK Global as well. And so people aren't getting their Jeeps back, aren't getting repaired. It's just a real bad thing. And eventually an attack like this is not put together by organizations that really don't know what they're doing. An attack like this on an organization like CDK Global, who just recently, I understand, touted some great new cybersecurity stuff they had. Great. That's fantastic. They're taking all kinds of precautions. I mean, they're not throwing caution to the wind. I can promise you this. They're too big to do it, and they realize it. But think about like the airline industry. If you shut down the airline industry, if it was attacked, imagine all the different side businesses and branches of economic effects that it could have. A CDK Global is like that. Okay, it's going to have some lingering after effect, long-term effects on what we can do as Jeepers, what we can buy as Jeepers, what can be done in the Jeeping industry. That is, it all circles around, dealers and OEM equipment, so on and so forth. So my goal today is just kind of talk a little tiny bit about that and kind of bring some awareness out. By the way, I see a lot of people joining. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. You can chat if you want. I think I've got a chat app that I'll actually respond to. I've not used a chat app before, so if I don't, I'll come back because I'll see it later on after the show. All right. So I want you to think about this. Also, if you work in a business that works in this industry, your business could be affected. I've had, a number of people that are Jeepers that, hey, can't get parts. Hey, we can't sell stuff. We can't buy stuff. It's an up and down thing. And I want you to think about this. I own a cybersecurity company, like I said, and one of my jobs is to help organizations try to prepare for situations like this so that they're not decimated, so they're not cratered out of business because of something, because this is really could run businesses out of business. And so one of the things I recommend is an organization always have some kind of backup strategy. And when I say backup, it doesn't mean just technology, right? I mean backup strategy. How am I going to keep my business afloat, right? And so some of the things I'm sure that are being done. I went to an event back a few months ago, Omni in Nashville. The whole Omni hotel network was hacked, and they had strategies in place to still check people in and check people out of their rooms, floor by floor by floor. They had a table at every floor to check you in and get you in and out of your room with the appropriate preparedness, right? And that's what I'm saying for any business that could be affected by this. This is smart for just any business, not just Jeep owners' businesses, right? And so a contingency plan should be put in place with a disaster recovery plan. It's called business continuity. How do we stay in business, right? One of the things I've been preaching for years and years and years. If you don't know what it is, you need to look at it, look into it. I don't care what business you're in, but if you have any technology that you use, you should have multi-factor authentication on it, right? And so multi-factor authentication on your phone, where you have to put a code or the visual on it, face ID or whatever. My Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts, YouTube accounts, and so on and so on. All of them have multi-factor authentication. And so if somebody breaks in from overseas that hacked my password, guess what? I'm going to get a prompt that somebody's trying to access my account. And hopefully it's a good enough prompt that tells me where it's from, right? And so those are the types of things you should have in place. If you don't have it on there, put it on there. Bank accounts, of course, they're requiring it today. But every software that you use that is especially publicly hosted should have multi-factor authentication on it. The other thing we recommend is an endpoint protection, right? I know, a lot of you work in businesses and a lot of you own businesses, and maybe this isn't really, the focus of your business. Your focus is to make wheels or lift kits or whatever, right? And so the important thing here is that eventually your business is going to be attacked. I said before that this was a coordinated attack. This wasn't just something that just happened, right? Most of the time it doesn't just happen to a large organization like that. They have a lot of protections in place, but smaller organizations don't. And so the everyday cyber criminals are using easy tactics to break in because, well, most of the manufacturers I know don't have great security. It's not their focus. We're manufacturing, we're reselling, we're trying to get, wheels put out and, who knows, right? Accessories. We're not putting our time into cybersecurity. Well, they are indiscriminate and they do attack any business. They walk down a street on the internet and basically check doors to see if they're unlocked. Okay. And if they're unlocked, they're getting in and they're doing their stuff. The way you can do that is the multi-factor authentication, endpoint protection, and I say protect all vectors, email vectors, web vectors, protect all the doors and windows that you can on a computer. It's not incredibly expensive, by the way. Okay. Thanks a lot, Shane, for the reaction, by the way. I really appreciate that. And others, if you're giving me reactions, I'm not seeing them. My apologies for that. Maybe the chat's not working. But the important thing is that we want to look at attack vectors. And if you know what those attack vectors are, I'm going to pop in my email address. And if you want to email me, you're welcome to. I try not to do hard sell or anything like that. I'm not doing that. I'm not that guy. I'm trying to help the community as best I can. If you don't know what the attack vectors are that you need to be protecting, shoot me an email. I'll send you a simple email with them. Okay. And then if you want to talk about how we can fix them, I'll help you there as well. I love the Jeep community. I want to give back as much as I can because it's given so much to me. And it's a lifestyle, it's a culture. We help each other in, somebody gets stuck in the wilderness in a terrain. We help each other. That's what we do here. So one other thing I'm going to say, and probably the last thing I'm going to kind of sign off. All right. Because I wanted to be this short, sweet, and simple. I understand that you need to back up everything. Just hear me. If you don't hear anything else, hear this right now. Don't let this escape your ears. Don't let it go in and out. Plug an ear, whatever you got to do. Pay attention. Back up everything. Okay. I don't care if that you have everything in the cloud. Just because you're using cloud applications does not mean it's secure. I hope you had that earplug because it's really important. Just because you have everything in the cloud doesn't mean it's secure. It is not necessarily. You are putting your stuff out there for someone else to take care of, and you have to trust that they're doing the job to take care of it. Well, trust is not a good enough thing for me, right? I'm sorry, I trust my mechanics, but I'm looking over the bolts. I'm looking over the torque on some of the things, just kind of spot check, right? I love them to death, but you got to, if I go out there and I have something happen because, well, I didn't verify a little bit, it's bad on me. So you need to make sure that your cloud manufacturers, the cloud software providers, are doing what they need to do. Do they have SOC 2 compliance? Do they have multi-factor authentication on their websites? How are their redundant strategies? Do they have immutable backups? Can you back it up, right? And all that stuff. So I don't care where it's at. If you got file repositories in Google or Microsoft 365 or Dropbox or Box, right? Back that crap up, right? You just can't afford for that stuff to be in jeopardy because you didn't do your job to make sure that it was secure. I've got all kinds of ways I can recommend this and stuff like that. But that's what you got to take away. Just because it's in the cloud, Shopify, Magento, I don't care, Salesforce, whatever it is, doesn't mean it's secure. Matter of fact, to use an example I tell customers all the time, Microsoft 365, one of the largest cloud providers in the world, says back their stuff up. Okay. It's on you. You got to do it. You got to buy it. You got to pay for it. You got to manage it. Right. Or you can consult with them and have them do it if you want to have a lot of money. Right. But the fact of the matter is they put in things that will help you recover, but they don't promise. It's best effort. You need to be covering your own right now. Okay. CDK Global is a good example. I'm sure they had a lot of things put in place. Again, there's a coordinated attack. It was not some kind of drive-by everyday hacker, unless it really got freaking lucky. But anyway, hey, Gimme with Jim here. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll do these occasionally, wherever I find an opportunity to educate people. I hope this is helpful. If it was helpful, share it to others and like and comment. I'll go through all the social media platforms because again, I didn't need any questions. I'll go through all the social media platforms and look for comments and try to answer them. So hope it's helpful, everyone.